On today's show, we are going to talk about the Iran war in Israel. We're going to talk about the Epstein files. We're going to talk about tariffs and the Supreme Court and what all three of these have to do with your portfolio.
1, 2, 3, come on!
When questions keep you up at night, you need answers you can trust. At Bookleitner Investigative Services, LLC, we deliver professional, confidential investigative services for individuals, attorneys, and all types of businesses. From surveillance and background investigations to fraud detection and asset searches, we uncover the facts ethically, legally, and discreetly. So protect what matters, get clarity, get results. Call us today for a free initial confidential consultation at 803-351-2935.
Welcome to the My Father Said podcast. I am your host today. I'm Robert. You may notice I am by myself. Ryan is out taking care of some things of which we will allow him to announce when he comes back, if he ever does come back. But anyway, man, there's a lot going on, isn't there? Gosh, there is a lot going on in the world today. It's all kind of things, and we're going to touch on some of these today. I'm going to talk to you about the conflict with Iran. I'm going to talk to you about the Epstein files, and no, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. My name's not on that list. I've never been to that island. Now, our producer, Scott, on the other hand, he may have been, but not me. But then we're also going to talk about the tariffs and the Supreme Court's ruling on the tariffs and what that looks like. And we're going to tie all three of these together to how does this affect your portfolio. So let's get on with this show. So the Iran war in Israel. You know, I'm hearing a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts from individuals saying, you know, we shouldn't be out in another endless war. We probably should stay home and concentrate on what's going on here domestically. I get all of that. Nobody in their right mind wants to go into another war. But, you know, we're not into wars of World War I and World War II where you had a lot of boots on the ground, and in order to exact damage, you had to physically go over there. The kind of wars we have today, if you just stop for a moment and look, Israel would be decimated right now if it wasn't for their air defenses, simply because technology has taken it to the point now to where a nation can wage war from the very land they're sitting in to nations across the continent. And the United States isn't too far away from Iran when it comes to military capabilities. So whether you think this is a just action by the United States or not, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not even going to discuss that. But I do know this. When a nation of people for 47 years is hollering death to America, there's no need to question their intent. They have one thing in mind and one thing in mind only, and they say it every time they chant. So do yourself a favor, clean the wax out of your ears, get a basic dictionary so you can understand plain English and recognize that these folks have ill intent, not necessarily the Iran people, but the religious leaders, the clerics, people like that. That's who's got it, and that's who is out to cause harm to not only America, but Israel and any other nation that doesn't submit to their authoritarian rule. So I hope this conflict that's taken place, it seems to be overall going in the favor of the good guys. I hope it's short-lived. I think nation building, regime changing nation buildings is going to take a lot longer than blowing up a place. Because they've got to create their own political system. They've got to create their own ability to be able to govern themselves and the people, much like they had to do here in the United States and other developed countries. And that doesn't happen over the weekend. That's going to take a while. And because of that, there's probably going to be some more instability with oil. Oil coming across, the places that use their oil. Right now, we know that Russia and China is Iran's biggest customers. Russia and China is also not exactly our best friends. So there's going to be some world economic shaking going on here in this particular sense. And, the reality is we don't know what Russia and China's reaction is going to be long term. So you got to watch out for that. How does this affect your portfolio? I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. Another thing that we have is these Epstein file releases. Now, we've stayed away from the Epstein files because basically that is perversion at its worst. There is some really sick individuals who go there and have gone there and have done things with people. Basically, they should be put out of their existence, if I can be so blunt. The trial has already been done. If you were there and you engaged in those acts, you're guilty. You should be snuffed out, eliminated. You should be fried to a crisp. However you want to do it, you should be shot through the heart. Whatever it might be, you need to be eliminated. You are a blight on society, and it's terrible. You come into the point today, well, what about our potential elected officials, both Republican and Democrat, who were down there and may have participated, but yet play vital roles in our country? It's too bad. They need to be gone too. And they need to be gone swiftly, quickly, after a public humiliation of them having to answer for the things that they've done. People, we're better than this. There is no sense in this world why we would even consider these individuals being in position. I just seen this morning where Congress voted down the resolution that would make public all of the sexual harassment claims paid out by politicians at the expense of our U.S. tax dollar. It was voted down so that they would not be exposed and revealed. What does that tell you? I mean, literally, what does that tell you? The next time you go to the voting booth, I want you to think real clearly about, man, I'm a Democrat, and I always vote Democrat because the Republicans are evil. Or I'm always a Republican, I'm always going to vote Republican because the Democrats are always evil. I want you to really consider that for a minute. Frankly, I'm of the opinion that they're all a waste of toilet paper, if I can say it that way. And they're all pretty much useless. Every blamed last one of them. So the Epstein files, if and when that stuff gets released, like it's happening in other countries where high-ranking leaders are being arrested because of these releases, yet nobody in the United States has been arrested not one time at this point. Folks, that's a problem. That's a real problem. And I'm more concerned with that than I am the condition of the markets, believe it or not, because basically, eventually, an unethical nation is going to fall into the pits of depravity, and it doesn't matter how solid a capitalistic system is that you've got, it's going to turn into garbage. So you got to cure this illness, and the individuals involved in this Epstein pedophile ring, they need to be identified, dealt with harshly and quickly. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. How does that affect us in our portfolios? The third thing I want to talk about is what was just recently done. President Trump here on this particular term has fallen in love with tariffs. On a moment's notice, it seems like he says to a country, I'm going to take you to 5%, 15%, 50% tariff on your goods at a whim. And it seems like there's no rhyme or reason as to why this is the case. Well, since these tariffs have been implemented, billions upon billions of dollars have come into the United States in the form of payments due to these tariffs. Those billions and billions have created more jobs. They have created an economic boom that is taking place right now, even though you might not feel like it this week. It's taking place right now. It will take place in the summer when the big, beautiful bill, when the tax cuts come in from that, and they start coming down the line. All of these things are going to come in, and they're going to be extremely beneficial to you and I, the taxpayer, the working American, the one who wants to see a little bit more margin between my obligations and the actual money that I have in my bill folder. So all of this is there, but the Supreme Court has basically ruled that what Trump did was not within his authorization. So now the big question is this: what about all the money that we have received? What happens to it? Does it go back to those nations? And if so, how much time is the United States allowed to send that money back? These are questions that have not been answered yet as a result of that ruling. And frankly, sitting here on this side of the microphone, I do not know the answer. I don't even have any speculation. Our governments are just really, they do some things that I don't understand. Supreme Court, the law is the law. It's written the same language. It doesn't matter if you have a liberal mindset or a conservative mindset. The words of the law say the same thing to each person, or so you would think. You ever wonder why it seems like every time the Supreme Court gets involved in something, it's always a 4-3 decision? How is it that 7 or 9 people can sit up there and read the exact same sentences and come up with completely different interpretations? Why is it? Because biases are put above the actual rule of the letter. I regress, though. I don't even want to go there because I'm going to get fired up. My face is going to get red, and nobody's here to calm me down and pull me off the limb. So I better not go there. But anyway, what do these 3 things have to do with you and your portfolio? It's what they've always done. It's what we have taught and preached on this program since its inception. Volatility in the market is always going to come at us from different directions. It's going to come at us with different disguises. One day it's going to be a terrorist attack. Another day it's going to be bank failures. One day it's going to be the orange crop had significant freezes and what was expected in the futures is not going to materialize. There's all types of things that's going to come that's going to create what we call volatility. This is no different. If you remember, we always say this: the market could care less what is going on in the world. The market could care less about politics. What the market doesn't like is not knowing what to anticipate. And right now, this is where we are now. Nobody can give us an exact date when the conflict with Iran is going to end. Nobody can give us an exact date what the new political structure over in that part of the world will look like. Markets don't like that. With these Epstein files, no one yet knows who our politicians are that went over there and participated in that filthy garbage, who needs to be removed from their seats. And as a result of them being removed, what committees are they sitting on? What influences do they have in what all different areas of the government? The markets don't like not knowing. And with this tariff thing, the markets don't like it when President Trump just decides to increase the tariff. The markets always react negatively to that. The markets are not going to like if it gets to this point of us having to send money back to these other nations where money came to us from these tariffs. The market's definitely not going to like that. But right now, the markets do not know because the Supreme Court, with their ruling, didn't provide enough information to tell us, the nation, well, this is what you do now as a result. So here's what happens. What my prediction is this. Today, the market's going to go up a little bit. It's going to go down a little bit. Tomorrow, it's going to go up a little bit. It's going to go down a little bit. Saturday and Sunday, the market's not going to be open. I predict that. Monday, the market's going to go up a little bit, go down a little bit. And it's going to do that every day. In other words, what I'm trying to say to you is let's make certain that we do not permit these immediate focuses that's going on in our country right now that affects our markets right now today. Let's not allow that to derail us from our long-range plan. Remember, if you treat it right, volatility can be one of your best friends if you treat it right. But if you let it treat you the way it wants to treat you, it's going to be your worst enemy. So, for today's show on the My Father Said podcast, That's Robert's opinions. That's Robert's thoughts. I wanted to share these with you. Take with them what you want to do. But remember, I've been in this business for 30 years now. I've seen quite a bit. This is just another one of those things. So until next time, this is the My Father Said podcast. See you later.
1, 2, 3, come on!
The opinions voiced in this video are for general information only and are not specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. Securities offered through LPL Financial, number FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Good Life Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. The Templeton Group and Good Life Advisors, LLC, are separate entities from LPL Financial.